I always like to ask people to take out the crystal ball and look forward, 5, 10 years in this industry. Uh, I'm going to ask you 10 years out. Where do you see this industry and try to describe to people how you think it will look different than it does today?
So I think those are always fun questions. I will caveat that with whatever I say, it's going to be different for the very reason that I'm going to say what I'm going to say, which is I think there are going to be some radical shifts. I don't know exactly what they're going to be. I mean, I have some ideas and inclinations. We can chat about those. But at the end of the day, what I know is there's sort of this ongoing sort of debate, right? This unspoken discussion in the industry of, right, are the Amazons and the Google's going to get in and, right, disintermediate us? Are the Vanguards, the Betterments, and the Schwab's $30 a month plan going to come in and disintermediate us? And you almost have like that record store travel agent conversation, right? Well, we do something special. We're always going to be here. Everybody wants to come into the record store, and we know what happened to those industries. That said, this one is different, right? It is like accounting or architecture, right? It is a profession. It is not a product. And so the underlying foundation of it is advice. And so here's what I know is to be true, that the rate of change in technology is accelerating, right? Moore's law and all of that. Like if you think about what you were doing with technology 20 years ago, I had a brick phone, like literally the brick, that's what they could, right? You remember that?
Yep.
And now look at what we're doing. And so fast forward 10 years, we can't even envision at this point what's actually being built, right? Uber just invested money in planes because, right, they're in Dubai, they're flying people in these little planes or flying back, right? It's going to radically change, self-driving cars. And so it really is not about how we get disintermediated, but how we differentiate. And so that's why when you look at the nuts and bolts of planning and investing and, right, wealth management in totality, a lot of it can be commoditized. So fighting that, I think, is, right, an utterly futile task. What I do with clients, particularly larger firms who are looking to how are we going to differentiate and capitalize on this opportunity, is where's the differentiation? And really, whether you're a small firm or a large enterprise, the future is going to be advice and experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, you can't commoditize that. Now, AI is going to come in and it's going to radically change things. Now, how much is going to hit in the next 10 years? I don't know, but I was reading a couple weeks ago, Fidelity's invested tens of millions of dollars in AI and virtual reality. Why? Because at some point, it's entirely possible that your conference room is a white room with a projector or a computer in it, and your clients or you are getting projected into, right, 3D, you're having a meeting. Like, that's going to happen at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's in the next 10 years, but I know it's definitely in the realm of possibility. So look, if you're an advisor that's 65 plus, you're probably thinking, okay, I don't need to worry about this. And you're right, your clients probably in the span of their lifetime probably aren't going to leave you. If you're under that window, it's not that your clients are all going to run out of the building. It's not that prices are going to get cut by 80% and you're going to have to compete. But we're already seeing firms feel a huge uptick in their need to deliver service and value in exchange for the fees. And I think as technology comes in and starts to create opportunities for firms to scale and leverage, it's a huge opportunity for firms that are forward thinking around technology, who are what I call tech first firms, which is, okay, we always look to technology for the solution. It's scalable, it's systemizable, which means we can control the experience. And advice is a specialized experience, which is why some people go, oh, well, you can't replace us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anytime advice says you can't, you should just always worry. But at the end of the day, there's also truth to that, which is it's a specialized experience. So I think 10 years from now, what you're going to see is the deep value is going to be in advice and experience for firms that charge, right, for the value that they deliver, who aren't sort of a scale and commodity player. And I think you're going to see technology drive the vast majority of that, so that people are doing what I've been trying to get them to do for 20 years, which is show up and do your number one job, which is, if you're an advisor, it's to think. It is to know what your client wants, to know, to your point, what's behind the curtain of what's holding them back. It's to understand how to get them from point A to point B from a technical and a relational perspective. and to be able to give them the advice that they can trust and count on, and an experience that sustains over their lifetime so that they can get to the outcome. Mm-hmm. And that's a function of people, process, and platform. But I think the amount that we rely on for people in that equation is probably going to shift a bit.
Yeah, I can see that. And that, you bring up that Fidelity investment. I mean, they with that partnership with Amazon, I believe they created a virtual reality agent that basically was able to tell you all about your stocks just by standing in the room. So, you visualize having the meetings in a conference room. Just visualize walking into a Schwab branch or a Fidelity branch or your advisor's office and being greeted by a virtual reality agent that's able to do everything.
There is one of the commercials. We were in the States for spring breaks. Is when I get all the commercials that I get to do. Half of them are still RX commercials, which is dreadful, but that's a separate conversation for a separate day. It was, I don't know, it was Chase or one of the banks. It was Chase Cafe or Capital One Cafe. Mm-hmm. And it's like these cafes that they're doing. Like there's a teller kind of, sort of, but it's like a hangout place to do your banking. So yeah, if someone said to me, hey, there's going to be, like banks and institutions are going to have experience cafes like that. And if you want to pop into the booth and have a virtual conversation with, yeah, of course, that's what I mean by the shift is going to be radical. Now, again, I'm not predicting it's going to put anyone out of business. I'm not predicting it's going to be the death of fees. But what I am saying is that shift is coming. And so it's really about when major shifts occur, the difference between those that excel and those that are extinct is all about in how they prepare for and embrace the change. That's what it's about. Can you see that it's coming and position your organization to figure out, you don't have to even be on the cutting edge of the wave. You don't have to go out and spend tens of millions of dollars, but you got to figure out how to stay at least right on the wave so that you can ride with the momentum that you have. Otherwise, you're just going to be paddling against that wave. And I think that's what firms are starting to feel between compliance and the pressure to deliver more value for the same fee, or firms that have only charged on investments, when the market drops 30 or 40%, which it's going to do at some point, they still have to provide all those planning services and they're not charging a fee. And so how do the economics work? And if that's the case, then you really better be relying heavily on technology to keep your overhead down. And so I could go on forever, so I'll stop. I think it's going to be a period of exchange. It's going to be really exciting for some people and really terrifying for others.